The conference call of Wipro regarding the demerger. So as pointed out by the management, you will get 1 share of Wipro Enterprises for every 5 shares held. The shareholders can opt for Wipro Enterprises for the same, and the per value share of the demerged business at 44.5 rupees. The demerger, of course, is subject to the approval of the Karnataka High Court, and the total value of the business at 412.5 crores.
Wipro Limited will now be exclusively focused on the technology business, and this will help us maximize the value that we deliver to our IT customers and shareholders. The businesses of Wipro Enterprises Limited are diverse, and this demerger gives them an opportunity to pursue their independent growth plans. The demerger will also help improve competitiveness of the IT business and the diversified business in the respective markets. The board of Wipro Limited will remain unchanged. Azim Premji will remain Executive Chairman of the board of Wipro Limited. In addition, he will assume the position of Non-Executive Chairman of Wipro Enterprises Limited. The demerger will have no impact on the management structure of the Wipro Limited. There will be no change in the leadership of any of Wipro Enterprises Limited's constituent businesses. Wipro brand will be jointly owned by both the companies. We believe that the demerger is in the interest of the shareholders, and it reflects a high standard of governance, transparency, and fairness for all the stakeholders. Now Mr. Senapati will take you through the details of the scheme. Thank you.
A very good afternoon to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. As advised by Mr. Vagul, let me take you through some of the features of the scheme. As per the scheme currently proposed, resident Indian shareholders of Wipro Limited on the record date can choose from multiple options as per their investment objectives. They may opt to A. Receive 1 equity share with face value of 10 rupees in Wipro Enterprise Limited for every 5 equity shares with face value of 2 rupees each in Wipro Limited that they hold. Or receive 7% redeemable preference shares in Wipro Enterprise Limited with face value of 50 rupees for every 5 equity shares of Wipro Limited. Each redeemable preference share shall have a maturity of 12 months and shall be redeemed at a value of rupees 235.20. Or exchange the equity shares of Wipro Enterprise Limited and receive as consideration for equity shares of Wipro Limited held by the promoter. The exchange ratio will be 1 equity share in Wipro Limited for every 1.65 equity shares in Wipro Enterprise Limited. 1 equity share in Wipro Limited would be received by a shareholder in the exchange offer from the promoter for every 8.25 equity shares that the shareholder holds in Wipro Limited on the record date pursuant to the demerger. If we just reflect on the valuation of the RPS, considering the dividend of 3 rupees 50 paise, being the 7% dividend on a 50 rupees face value, and the redemption value of 235 rupees after a 12-month period, the value of the RPS, assuming a yield of 7%, comes to 223 rupees. Using the multiple of 1.65, the implied value of the IT business of Wipro Limited will be 368 rupees. Since 223 rupees reflects 5 shares of Wipro Limited per share value of demerged business, is therefore 44.55, and therefore the whole thing translates to the value of RPS translates to an equivalent of Wipro share of 412.55. Non-resident shareholders, excluding the ADR holders, and the ADR holders on the record date would be entitled to receive equity shares of Wipro Enterprise Limited in the aforesaid ratio. The non-resident shareholders, excluding ADR holders, shall further have the option to exchange the Wipro Enterprise Limited equity shares that they are entitled to and receive equity shares of Wipro Limited held by the promoter in the aforesaid ratio. According to the restructuring scheme as currently proposed, the Wipro Enterprise Limited equity shares that the ADR holders would otherwise be entitled to receive shall be compulsorily exchanged for equity shares of Wipro Limited held by the promoter in the aforesaid ratio. Subject to receipt of all Indian and US Securities and Exchange Commission approvals, exemptions, the ADR holders will be issued additional ADR representing the Wipro Limited equity shares that they would otherwise receive pursuant to the scheme of arrangement. Where such approvals and exemptions are not forthcoming or are not received prior to the record date of the demerger, we expect that the depository with respect to the ADRs will, subject to compliance with the applicable laws and the terms of the deposit agreement, sell the equity shares of Wipro Limited that ADR holders would otherwise be entitled to receive and distribute the proceeds thereof to the ADR holders. The proposed demerger is subject to approval of the Karnataka High Court and other regulatory bodies. The appointed date for the demerger shall be opening of business hours as of 1st April 2012. The scheme shall become effective on the filing of the High Court order approving the scheme with the Registrar of Companies. Post the scheme becoming effective, the company shall fix the record date for the purpose of determining the shareholders of Wipro Limited who shall receive the election and tender notice. There were questions around the announcement of this demerger today versus the announcement of the results tomorrow. As you know, tomorrow is the prescribed date for our earnings, which is still under deliberation to be announced tomorrow, and it will be focused on the earnings. Today, the board deliberated on this matter with respect to demerger scheme, and the decision got taken. Therefore, the management thought, the company thought it appropriate that soon after the decision gets taken, it is shared with public at large, including the investors and shareholders. Thank you. Now we will be prepared to take questions. Just for your information, we have Mr. Vagul, myself, Bill Owen, and Mr. M.K. Sharma, who are the members of the special committee appointed by the board for the entire oversight and recommendation with respect to whole of this scheme.